Welcome to the Big Change the Film interview series. My name is Jason Cohen, and every week I chat with people who've lost significant amounts of weight, try and share some of their stories to serve as inspiration for others who are also on this journey. And including today's guest and myself, the total pounds lost is now up to 7,986 pounds, which is the total pounds lost between everybody I've interviewed so far. This week's guest is Shelley Crockett from Ontario, Canada. She says that she's been on diet since the age 12. At her biggest, she was 317 pounds. She's lost 75. Says that she's still on the journey. She's an incredible story. She was pre-diabetic and decided to do something to change her life around, change her health around. And we have a great conversation, and I hope that you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm here with Shelley Crockett. We got connected through Tim Kaufman. And just, Shelley, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me. And maybe we could just start off with where you're from and maybe a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate you having me on. I'm from Burlington, Ontario, Canada. And a little bit about my journey is I've been overweight most of my life and have struggled with my weight. I've never been one of those slim children who then went on to be an adult and gain weight. I've always had a weight issue and have struggled and been on many different programs to lose some weight, and didn't actually succeed until I found whole foods plant-based eating.
Wow. I know in a message to me you said, just like you said, you were overweight for most of your life, and I think you said you went on your first diet at the age of 12. What did food look like growing up for you?
Very plain. Very plain. I grew up with, our background is British, and so it was the meat and the potatoes and the awful canned vegetables, that sort of thing. So as far as actual food, it was pretty repetitive as to what we would have week to week to week. But I did grow up with a mother who used food as a crutch and to comfort herself. And I think I learned some habits from her, unfortunately. Wonderful mother. Couldn't ask for a better mother. But unfortunately, I did inherit some of those traits from her in using food as a crutch and that sort of thing. So my first diet was at 12. There was a discussion about my weight with my parents. I remember it clear as day, they were sitting at the kitchen table and they had concerns. So my first experience was with Weight Watchers at the age of 12. So I was thrown into a room full of adults, and with all good intention, but I think what it did is just send me down the wrong path, that I learned that there was good foods and that there are bad foods, and that you're good if you eat the right foods and that you're probably not so good if you eat the bad foods. And that's kind of where it started, and it would go from there. I think that was my first experience with the diet, and then I was on another one when I was 14 and 16 and 18, and I always lost weight, but I always gained it back and then some. So, and it just kind of went from there until I was in my 20s, and I lost both my parents when I was fairly young. I lost my mother when I was 23, and I lost my father when I was 28, both to cancer. So I then took all of those lessons as a child and comforted myself with food. And from that point on is where the majority of my weight really started to pack on, was after I would say my mid to late 20s.
Wow. And I'm just thinking, 12 years old, that's super young. How do you think, going on that first diet at 12, what did that do for you or to you as far as your relationship with food and maybe even your relationship with your body as well at that young of an age?
Well, you learn that you're not normal, right? You're no longer normal. You have an issue, and you're probably a little bit oblivious to it at the age of 12. And I think it was all with good intention, but like I said, it does teach you that there are good foods and that there are bad foods, and that you're good if you eat the right foods and you're bad if you're not eating the right foods. And it becomes a struggle. And you lose your innocence to just eating and enjoying life. And you realize that, okay, society expects me to look a certain way, and society expects me to eat and behave a certain way. And, I learned to calorie count, and I learned to ration food, and I think that's when all of the habits of eating and then eating freely and then, oh, I better control what I'm eating. I have to control it. So then you start counting calories, and it gets obsessive. I think that's what it taught me, is that food isn't just food to nourish your body. You can control your weight with it, or attempt to anyhow. So I think that was probably a young age to be thrown into that kind of situation, and with adults to boot. So it wasn't like I was with other children and learning a new way of eating. I was with adults who struggled with their weight. So probably hearing conversations I shouldn't have been hearing.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that you lost both of your parents at a young age, and you also, I think you said your mom did, but you also use food kind of for comfort. What do you mean by that? What did that look like for you? How did that manifest itself?
I think what happens when you lose your parents at a young age, the people around you just sort of want you to be okay. They know you're not, because you're going down a path that is, you've never traveled that path before. You've never dealt with sickness or sick parents, or or the loss. That's a huge loss at a fairly young age. And I didn't have, I've never been married. I don't have children. So I didn't have the comfort of a spouse or someone to rely on. It was me. And what I found was that people want to say, "Are you okay?" And you're really not okay, because you're learning to deal with a new normal, and you're learning to cope. And I think what I did was kept all of those feelings bottled in and just used food to comfort myself. And it wasn't healthy food. Um, my thing has always been, I'm not a sweet girl. I'm not a chocolate girl. I'm all about savory. I'm all about show me the chips and I'm all good, right? That's kind of what I did. I learned to self-soothe, and probably in all the wrong ways, and eating, snacking at night, that sort of thing. That's what I did. And that started me down a bad path to gaining a lot of weight. A lot of weight. So I was okay for about 10 years. I would say so if my mom died at 23, I probably to about, 30, I was what I thought was overweight. Boy, I would like to be that overweight now. So I probably thought I was overweight then, but I probably would have pretty close to doubled that number. And that number probably back then was about 180. So my highest weight was at 50, and that was 317 and a half pounds. And that is very hard to say out loud, but that was the top number. I just, over the years, was out of control. After that point, I just was out of control with food. And once I started eating this way, I often refer to it as a monster. It's almost like a beast. You want to stop this beast because your brain is out of control. It's craving. I think what it's doing is it's craving healthy food. You're not giving it enough healthy food, so it craves, but it doesn't know what to crave specifically. And it's a really bad cycle. It kind of just is a hurtful cycle, and it's very hard to kick it and to get out of it. And I wasn't able to do that until I was about 50.
Wow.
On his birthday, in fact.
Yeah, and I think you hear people say they were overfed but undernourished. It's like you just keep eating, thinking your body's thinking, well, give me more. I need more. But what you're giving it is not. You're not putting the
It's not
right
smart
fuel in the
enough
engine.
to, yeah, it's not smart enough to identify the healthy food from the junk you're feeding it, right? It just knows it needs something, so it makes you crave, And of course, you don't eat, you know, salads and what you should be eating. You're eating everything but. So it's a very vicious cycle. And it took me to about 50. It wasn't until my 50th birthday. On my 50th birthday, I went to the doctor in Canada. When you turn 50 in Canada, there's a series of tests that you automatically have to go and get done, like a colonoscopy and all that kind of, mammograms and all that good stuff. And they automatically send you paperwork to have it done. And part of that is a physical. And I went and got everything done but the physical because I knew that it wasn't going to be good. I knew that I was not in a good place physically. I was getting many symptoms of like a pre-diabetes, pre-diabetic symptoms. I could feel my liver on a regular basis. My liver was just screaming out for help. And I kind of knew that I wasn't good. So I did all the other tests, but I didn't go for my physical. And it wasn't until my sister, I have an older sister who's 5 years older than me, and she's sort of like my mom sometimes. And she said, "Did you go for your physical?" And I went, "Ooh, no, I didn't go for my physical." She said, "If you don't go for your physical, I'm going to call the doctor and I'm going to make you go." And I was like, "Oh, no." So, of course, I went and I had the blood test done, and the results were not good. They basically were saying I was pre-diabetic, and the doctor was going, "You're on a crossroads. You need to make some healthy changes, or I'm going to put you on medication." And I said to her, "No, I'm not going on medication. I work for Big Pharma. Fortunately, I liked my job, but I've worked for them for years, and I know the results of medications, and specifically diabetic medications. And I know that one medication becomes two medications, becomes three medications, and so on." So I said to her, I'm not going on medications." So I'd been doing a little bit of research on my own. I had gone and gone to Dr. Google and done some research and found this plant-based way of eating. And I had said to my doctor, "Well, I found this plant-based way of eating, and I had been doing it for about a couple of days by the time I went for my appointment." And of course she said, "Well, what is it?" And so I told her, and she was like, "Oh, you can't do that. Diabetes and potatoes. Oh my goodness. No, you can't do that. Don't eat that. Don't do it." And I was like, "But I feel so good. It's only been a couple of days and I feel really, really good." And she said, "No, don't do it. Don't do it." And I said, "Well," so I negotiated, bottom line, I negotiated with her, and we made a pact that I would come back in a month. And if I hadn't improved, then she would be putting me on medication. And I was bound and determined not to go on any medication. So I left that appointment and started eating lots of potatoes and lots of vegetables, and quickly felt better.
Wow. Well, I certainly want to get back to that and the vegetables, but I'm kind of curious. So there's a time frame basically between the age of 30 and 50, which is where you said you really started to put on the weight, 50 being, whenever you're the highest. What happened during that time? Did you kind of just get on the roller coaster and get strapped in and just go for a ride, or what happened that caused you to go up so high between that time?
I think just my body learned how to gain weight and was really good at it. I excelled at it. I'm very good at that. So I'm not really sure what caused it. I don't know if it was years of yo-yo dieting. I think that's what led to it. So there actually was one thing. One of the diets I did was called Dr. Bernstein. Don't know if you have it down in the States or not, but he is a doctor who specializes in weight loss. And I had gone and done that, I would say, I'm not even sure, in my 30s. I was in my 30s. And it was on it only for a month. It's very expensive. It's about $1,500 a month. You go in and they give you a meal plan, and they stick you with needles in your belly specifically, which is potassium, and there's something else that's in this shot that's supposed to help you with cravings. I know. So I did it for about a month, not even a full month. because by week 3, I started feeling so bad. I just felt horrible. And I thought, I'm really not eating that much. And I went in to see this doctor, and he ripped into me, and he basically said, "You're not following the program," because I stopped losing weight. And I said, "I am following the program. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing." And he said, "Well, there's some people that are ultra carb sensitive, so we have to remove all carbohydrates from their diet," which is what they did. I wasn't allowed to eat any carbohydrates. And I kept going back, and I wasn't losing. And he kept saying, I remember him saying to me, "You're a fat person. You're always going to be a fat person because you can't control yourself." And I thought, duh, that's why I'm here. Like, I can't control myself. I know. And so near about week 3, I thought, how many calories am I actually eating? So I sat down and I Googled calories, and I quickly realized that I couldn't get up to 500 calories a day. They had taken so much away from me, nutrition-wise, that I was having a hard time even hitting 500 calories a day. And I thought, that's why I feel so horrible. And I ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor said to me, well, I was sick. I was not well, and it was not good. And she said, "You have a choice. You can quit this program, and I can treat you now, or you can continue the program, and you'll end up in the hospital, and I'll treat you there because you're that sick that you need antibiotics, and pretty heavy duty ones." And it actually took about 3 prescriptions of antibiotics to get me to recover my immune system. And then it took me about 3 months to actually recover totally. And after that, I kind of just thought, I'm tired of dieting all the time. I'm tired of, like you say, I'm on this roller coaster. I lose weight, I gain weight. I would go through these cycles where I'd lose weight, and then I'd gain that weight and some more, because my body would say, I'm not happy. I just want to gain some more weight back. And that's what would happen, because I was probably severely cutting my calories in order to lose weight. So with this program, with the Bernstein, that's what happened. I had lost about 34 pounds in a month, and I ended up gaining that 34 and some back. And I know a few people who've done the program, and they've all gained the weight back plus. So I think that at that point, I just had enough. I was burnt out. I was tired of dieting all the time. And I just stopped. I just stopped trying. And I gradually gained the weight until I was about 50. And I came across the Whole Foods plant-based way of eating out of absolute desperation because I wasn't going to go on any medications. So, but it was a good thing in the long run. And about a month after I did it, because I had promised the doctor I would go back, my first month I lost about 12 pounds, which is, that wasn't even the big thing. That wasn't even the win. The win for me was I was having so many diabetic symptoms. I just was not feeling well. I would eat something and I would get spinny. I would get red cheeks. I would get spinny. I knew I was in a bad place. Like I said, I could feel my liver. I could feel a dull kind of pain at the site of my liver. And I think it was just my liver screaming out for, stop eating the fat, stop eating the junk. So my first step was when I went online, I found Dr. Bernard, and then I found Dr. McDougall. And one night I ran out. It was like, 10:45 at night. And the bookstore was going to close at 11. And I got there just 15 minutes before, and I grabbed both books, bought them, bought a highlighter, bought sticky notes, and I stayed up all night. And I read all night. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I was never a big meat eater, and I'm lactose intolerant. So dairy has never been a big issue for me because I've never been able to eat it. So I came home that night and I thought, I can do this. This sounds manageable to me. And I made all sorts of notes, and I went out the next day and bought all the food. And I thought, 30 days. I can commit to anything for just 30 days. And so that's what I did. I did it for the 30 days before I went back to the doctor. And like I said, I lost 12 pounds. But what was more important was I could no longer feel my liver. And that was the biggest win. I was like, okay, something's really good here, because I felt I wasn't getting spinny. I wasn't having red cheeks. A little bit of TMI. I had another symptom, which was my urine was a very strong. I had this smell about me that wasn't good, and I knew it wasn't right, and that disappeared. So very quickly, all of these symptoms that I was having went away. And the best part that I didn't mention is one day I came home about a week into eating this way, and I sat down and I thought, hold on. I'm not thinking about food. It's 8 o'clock at night. I've eaten my dinner, and I haven't thought about snacking on anything I shouldn't be. I haven't thought about eating additional food. I'm actually okay. It calmed my brain, and it took away that monster, that beast, what I call it, that eating beast, or that uncontrollable craving was just gone like that. And so between the liver and that alone, those were my two biggest wins. And I thought, okay, I've done 30 days. Now I'm going to do 60 days. And it kind of went on from there. So it was a good find for me for sure, those books.
How long did it take for you to realize? I mean, did you realize instantly that this was going to be something that was going to work for the long term? Or, were you really just kind of sticking with that 30 to 60 day trial period?
Well, at first I thought, just try it for 30 days. I don't know if I can do it, because it's a new norm. You have to learn a new norm, because everybody has a set amount of meals that they eat on a regular basis. So you kind of have to get used to learning your new foods. What are my new foods, go-to foods going to be? But as soon as I read the books, I thought, this just sounds, I've always loved carbs. So I thought, okay, I don't have to worry. I never was a big meat eater. I hadn't eaten red meat in a while. So that wasn't even an issue for me, because I hadn't eaten that in a while. Part of that is I didn't digest red meat very well, and I think that has a tie to lactose intolerance. But so I would eat chicken and I'd eat some fish, but it was more of the junk for me that was an issue, the fat. And as soon as I cut that fat out, it calmed my brain, it calmed my body down. So that was what convinced me that I could do it long term. And I really haven't missed meat at all, or dairy. I don't miss any of it. People say to me all the time, I don't know how you do that. I couldn't do that. And I think, but you haven't even tried. You just have to try it for a while, because if there's one thing I wish I could get people to understand, is that if you just try it, you'd feel how good it is. And that's what they need to feel. They have to see that the cravings will go away, that your brain will calm down, and that you'll feel fantastic. And I wish they could feel that, because that would win them over.
And I know it sounds like you were kind of avoiding interactions with doctors and whatnot, but what are the conversations with your doctors like these days, and how has kind of the medical side of things changed for you?
Much better, much better. I went back after the month, and my numbers had dropped down to normal. At one point, I had a reading of my blood sugar reading was an 11, which is really high. Usually, I think it's below 6 is the normal. And it immediately went down, and I've not had blood sugar issues at all again. And I have a really good relationship. I've been going to my doctor for a long time. And when I went back, she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm eating potatoes. And she said, what? You can't eat potatoes. I said, but I've been eating potatoes. And she said, I don't get it. And I said, well, you've got to look into this information these books that I read. And she said, okay, I will. But she said, I don't know. She said, I don't think you should be eating potatoes. And I said, it's okay, really. It's the fat. And she went, I don't, they're so misinformed about nutrition. They really are. They don't have what they need. They don't get the information they need. And then, they rely so heavily on in our case, the Canadian Diabetes Association. And even I did receive some paperwork from them. And what they tell you to eat is so wrong. And I have people around me who suffer with diabetes. And I wish I could get them to listen, but they kind of fall back to what the Canadian Diabetes Association says. But the problem is it doesn't work. It really just doesn't work. Count your carbs. I see people around me that have it and that diabetes and they're eating white carbs, but they're only having half of a white bun. And I'm like, oh, just eat potatoes. Oh, I can't eat potatoes. Yes, you can eat potatoes. Give up all the processed, right? And you'll do so much better. But it's kind of sad that the information out there is so wrong. It's so wrong. It's really sad. And these people who are sick depend on it. And it's kind of scary, I'm glad that I had enough common sense to go and do my own research. I'm glad I actually did that because I feel it saved my life. I think it would have gotten worse. I think I would have been on medications, and I think my weight would have still been climbing. And I'm glad I did my own research. And then from there, I went online, and on Facebook, I happened one day just to put in something like starch solution, and all of these Facebook groups popped up. And I met all of these wonderful people who have also contributed to saving my life. Tim and Heather Kaufman, and Josh Lajani, and your channel, and all of these Facebook groups that I ended up joining, and it reinforced what I was doing. And I think that was a big saving thing for me because there was no one else around me doing it. Nobody else, no other like-minded people around me that ate this way. So I had to very heavily rely on my groups online. I found a group through Jill McKeever. I don't know if you've heard of Jill McKeever. She does plant-based cooking with an Instant Pot. And I went on to YouTube and I found a wonderful group. She has a support group and wonderful people on there who are like-minded. And then I can't even tell you how many other groups that I've like Forks Over Knives, that I found from that point. So that has saved me too. Finding all these like-minded people that post and talk about how doing what I'm doing. So it keeps me on track, even though many of the people are all over the world and I've never met them. So it's kind of, it's helpful for sure.
That's awesome. So I know, before we started chatting and I was kind of just confirming, everything, you said to me, you've lost 75 pounds and you're still on your journey. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is I haven't lost all my weight. I still have a significant amount of weight to lose. I still would like to lose another 70 pounds. I feel that another thing I've learned is it's not just about the food, it's about a journey. And my journey is my journey. And we tend to compare ourselves to others, and some people really dump their weight quickly and some people don't. And that's me. I kind of lost 75 pounds and then that was in about just over a year. It took me to lose the 75 pounds. And then I kind of stalled for a while. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And I have to tweak a few things. But, I'm also in my 50s, so it's not as easy to dump the weight. So it's been a different kind of journey, too, because it's not just about losing the weight. It's also about figuring out how am I going to do this for the rest of my life, not setting those dieting parameters that I set before, such as, oh, I got to lose this amount of weight in this amount of time. And if you're not doing it fast enough, then you're not successful, or, you fall off and you go back to your old ways. So that's something I haven't done. I've lost the 75 pounds and I've maintained that weight loss, which is absolutely enormous success for me personally because I've always yo-yoed. I've always lost the weight and then gained the weight and some more. So this time, even though am I losing as fast as I'd like to be? Maybe not, but that's okay. It's my journey, and I figure I'm going to get to the end when I get there. When it's my time to be there, I will get there. And I've not gained the weight back, so that's a big plus for me, a big plus. But I still have quite a bit more to drop to be where I really want to be.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear from people and have these conversations with people who, are kind of in the middle of their journey. Which, to me, to be honest, I always have the thought of like you're never finished. But I think for a
No.
lot of people, like you said, it can be tough when you're comparing yourself to somebody else online. It's really easy to portray something really really nice in a 5 second video or photo. How do you keep yourself motivated day to day? I mean, I'm not to throw stones, but your history. You know that you've
Yeah.
had that problem with yo-yoing before. So what do you do now? What have you learned or what have you come to help you make sure that that's a thing of the past and doesn't happen again?
I try to take it meal by meal. I'd like to say day by day, but sometimes it's actually meal by meal. Sometimes if I eat something that's off program or I find that I'm adding in too many processed things or like bread, oof, bread's my evil thing. If I find too much of that's creeping back in, then I just have to kind of stop myself and say, okay, we're not going to fall off. We're just going to start again. You're going to resume. Just resume. And sometimes that's just the easiest thing to say is, you know, it's just food. It's just food. I'm not good. I'm not bad. There's no, what I tend to do is pressure myself. I haven't lost any weight. Why am I not losing weight? So I kind of have to get out of my own head and just say, okay, it's just another day. And as long as you're eating healthy, then you're okay. You want the weight to keep coming down, but I don't want it to go back up either. So I have checks in place. Like I say, I really heavily rely on my support groups. I am friends with quite a few people who eat this lifestyle, and that helps me quite a bit. And just watching other people that are doing it helps me to stay on track. So it's one day at a time and trying to take the pressure off, the dieting pressure, because it's just food. That's what it is. It's just life. So one day at a time, one meal at a time sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective to have. Looking back, since you started this, is there anything about this journey or about this transition or about what's happened to you in the last, since you've lost the weight that surprised you that you maybe didn't expect whenever you were 50 and ran out to the bookstore and bought those books?
I'm surprised that it was easy. I'm cautious in saying that word, but it was easier than anything else. And it's hard when everyone around you, you're not the norm, because you certainly are not the norm when you're eating this way. And I'm surprised that I stuck with it. I really am, because usually it's just easier to go back to what everyone else is doing. But when you feel so good that you just, I can't go back. I just can't go back. So I think that surprises me that I'm the only one that does it, but I still do it. And I stuck to it. I don't know. Does that make sense? That's what surprises me the most, is that I've been on program and feeling okay about it. Not craving, not wanting to go back to my old ways.
It's a
So
good
I don't.
it's a good surprise to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What would you tell someone who's at the beginning of this journey, who's looking for some encouragement in getting their own journey started, and who's kind of ready to flip that switch and to give it a try for 30 days, or just looking for some encouragement that you might be able to give?
I would say make your home your safe place and get rid of everything that you don't want to be eating, because it's going to call your name. There's just nothing you can do about it. You can control your environment. Control your environment is so important. That would be the first thing. Control what's in your house, because if it's in I think it's Chef AJ that says, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And that is so unbelievably true, because if you have a weak moment, it's too easy to run and go and get it, right? So I would say control your environment, and I would say prep. Prep has saved me so many times, because if on a Sunday, I bought a pressure cooker called an Instant Pot when I first started. That was one of the groups that I found online. And I was looking for ways to prep food quickly. And I love this thing because I can make a stew in no time. And I can just throw it all together and it's done in, 20 minutes max. And I have good, healthy food. And I try to do that on Sunday. I try to prep. I make my grains so that they're ready to go. I do my grocery shopping so that I have all of the cut broccoli, all the good stuff in the fridge ready to go, all the vegetables. And just prepping saves me a lot of times, because if I'm tired and I'm driving home, and if you're new to it and you're driving past McDonald's or you're driving past fast food restaurants, it's too easy to stop. And if you're driving home and you can say to yourself, well, hold on, I can go home and I have potatoes that are cooked, and I have, cut up broccoli in the fridge, and I have salad that's ready to go, or spinach. It's just a 2-second thing to pull it out, to microwave some broccoli, 4 minutes it's done, and to warm up some potatoes, and you have a meal. So you can kind of say, I have fast food at home already. It's in the fridge and ready to go. So that's one of the things that has for sure saved me.
Yeah, I think, Sundays, I think for a lot of people have become that kind of day for prep. They certainly were and still are for us. And I think the thing that people sometimes don't realize is that prep work is kind of the setting yourself up for success for the week. It's like if you don't give yourself that, kind of time to do it, then of course, like you said, it's going to be super easy to pull over the side of the road, grab something, and then say, oh, well, I won't do that again.
Or even just stop at the grocery store. And I try to only go to the grocery store so many times a week, or, usually once a week, actually, and just try to buy it all at once. Because the more times I go to the grocery store, there are more opportunities for me to walk down aisles. I can't tell you how many times I walked down the chip aisle and looked like a crazy person who's saying, no, you're not going to buy those. Keep going. Why are you in this aisle? I talk to myself. People would, I think if they see me, they would think I was a crazy person. Or put the chips in the buggy. Take them out of the buggy. Put them in the buggy. Take them out. So I'm like, if I don't have to go there, I'm just better off. If I just go once and I go into the produce aisle and my foods, eat the foods that I know are my foods, and stay away from the not my foods, then I'm much better off. So shopping once a week and prep is huge to setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. So if you could have a conversation with yourself whenever you were 30 or 40, before you kind of got started on this journey that you're in now, and you could give that person some words of encouragement, what would you say?
I would say that I wish I had done more research beyond the basic diet programs that are out there. I wish I had looked for more information. I actually had a book from Dr. McDougall, along with all my 85,000 other diet materials. In there was Dr. McDougall, and I think I had tried it, and I didn't try hard enough. So I wish that I knew this way of eating was out there. That's what I kind of wish, that I knew that in my 30s. I wish it didn't take until my 50s to figure it out and put it together and find the strength. But I think we all get there when we're ready to be there, is the bottom line. But I wish I had found this information. Well, I actually had the information, but I wish I had paid more attention to it, or maybe tried a little bit harder at it in my 30s. Or, I don't know if I just wasn't ready. I think maybe I just wasn't ready. And it took until 50, unfortunately. So I wish it had happened when I was 20. But
Better late than never.
Hindsight is 2020, right?
That's it. Well,
Better than never.
lastly, where can people find out what you have going on, keep up with you on your journey, and connect with you?
I don't have any YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook under my name, Shelley Crockett. That's about it. So, or on the different sites that I'm on several different. You do any of the starch solution sites or forks over knives or anything like that, I'm on there. So, I'm usually one of the people paying attention and trying to reinforce the information that I've learned.
Fantastic. Well, Shelley, thanks so much for the time and for the inspiration. Congratulations on as far as you've come, and I'll look forward to hearing about everything in the future. And if I ever make it up to the Great North, I'll look you up.
It's not that far. It's not that cold either. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a great night.
You too.